Like I said, this
How
popped,
did Nickelback come to be universally
this
hated
popped
by
up,
everyone?
and
Well, hatred
yeah, this popped up, and I was like, I want to watch this as stream, so I'm gonna watch this with you guys and eat at the same time. So let's do that.
began with something completely out of Nickelback's control and was rather related to the opinion held by another popular public figure. In 2003, approximately 8 years after Nickelback was created, a comedian by the name of Brian Posehn would appear on a Comedy Central talk show titled Tough Crowd, during which he would make a joke about bad music making people violent before using Nickelback as an example.
Bad music makes people violent. Like Nickelback makes me want to kill Nickelback.
At the time, the other hosts on the show didn't even know who Nickelback was, yet Brian Posehn continued to reassure them with conviction that the band was truly horrible.
I'm so old, I don't even know who Nickelback is.
I'll have to agree with Nick on that.
They're not good. They're horrible. Just trust me.
Now, you'd probably assume that this one little comment wasn't enough to make the entire world hate Nickelback, right?
It's horrible.
The problem was, instead of this comment being a small thing in a relatively obscure episode on Comedy Central, the joke was actually featured in the station's main commercial, which was broadcast to millions for a period of over 6 months. With it, the hatred for Nickelback began to go viral, which was outlined by one user on Reddit who stated, "The joke was on every Tough Crowd promo and nearly all the time. After hearing this joke during every promo for a couple of weeks, I began to hear everyone at my middle school begin to mock Nickelback mercilessly. The worthwhile part of that repetitive commercial was of course the punchline, listening to Nickelback makes me want to kill Nickelback. The whisper down the lane aspect of the joke telling allowed the origin to slowly disappear until even people unfamiliar with modern music knew there was something detestable about Nickelback. Internet meme culture would then facilitate the hatred in the late noughties and early 2010s.
The only thing I want to hear right now is the sweet sound of this Nickelback CD cracking as I drive over it repeatedly.
With articles such as the 14 most brutal Nickelback memes of all time, featuring bangers such as still a better band than Nickelback, parents surprise him with concert tickets, Nickelback, and due to a cold shortage, Santa will be giving all bad little boys and girls Nickelback CDs.
That's
in addition
horrible.
to this, a company by the name of Aux Labs would develop a Chrome extension by the name of Nickelblock, never see Nickelback on the internet again, and by 2012 even Adam Sandler was jumping in on the hate train with a tweet reading, "If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, then have we found the perfect location for a Nickelback concert."
But it became kind of a trend and kind of, you know,
cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, it started to become sort of like a almost a constant, and it hurt.
What Mike Kroger seemed to imply in that clip was that much of the Nickelback hatred was spreading simply because other people hated Nickelback, and those other people who hated Nickelback hated them because someone else hated Nickelback before them. This whole phenomena was outlined hilariously in a Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan episode.
It's the same reason everybody hates Nickelback. Because the internet says so.
Yet this still feels like too simple of an explanation. Why did
What
Brian
that guy said.
Posehn choose to rip on Nickelback in the first place? Why didn't he choose a different band? Why was his conviction so strong that he attempted to convince the other hosts on the show of how bad Nickelback was? Well, perhaps it was because he was being forced to listen to them against his will. In 2002,
So I'm gonna go back for a second. Can we stop and talk about, we have 305. Can we talk about how bad TV was? This is like 4080p.
They're not good.
Like, look how bad it was.
Just trust me.
Now you'd probably
You know what I mean?
In 2002, just a year prior to Brian Posehn
that's
making
really
his
bad.
viral comment about Nickelback being terrible, the band's most famous song, How You Remind Me, was crowned as the most played radio song of 2002, and by 2009 it was crowned as the most played radio song of the decade, having been spun on air over 1.2 million times. Just to give you an idea about how crazy that number is, in 2002 there was never a given second on American radio that How You Remind Me wasn't being played on any one station.
In the United States, at the time that the album came out, they say that at any given second in those days, that song was in play. There was never a moment in that year when it wasn't playing.
Perhaps rather than hating the band for the music itself, people were sick of Nickelback being shoved down their throats by radio stations throughout the 2000s. While these days we consume music by choosing what we want to listen to on YouTube or Spotify, this luxury didn't exist in 2002. Unless you had a specific CD, you were at the mercy of whatever the radio decided to play, and with every station blasting How You Remind Me all day, every day, it seemed Nickelback was inescapable. While this must have been great in terms of exposing Nickelback to the world, perhaps it went a little too far. are. How many of you guys have unfollowed an influencer or a friend on Facebook because they post 50 different times per day? Or have you ever had a friend force you to watch a piece of media, whether it be a song, video, or movie, and because you didn't choose to watch it, it feels uncomfortable and you just want it to end? It seemed as though this is how the world felt during Nickelback's blow-up, as summarized beautifully in an article written about the band. The song became too big. It never stopped playing. It was everywhere. Its legacy is that it introduced people to Nickelback. In doing so, it became a signpost, a specific moment in time when you met the thing you hate. Now it's hated by association.
That's horrible,
now,
though.
For the song to have been getting that much airtime in the first place, some people must have been enjoying it. Yet Mike Kroger would go on to state that much of the success they achieved as a result of the song would eventually turn into hatred.
The time at which Nickelback began to suck started shortly after we started to sell millions and millions of albums. And everybody loves an underdog until they're no longer the underdog, and then that's once you're not the underdog anymore, that's when you start to suck.
I like
Mike Kroger's
Nickelback.
theory that people hated the
I might
band
get a lot of hate for that, but I actually like Nickelback. This is how you remind me of what. And I'm like, yeah, I like them. I don't know. The only song I don't like from Nickelback is that Photograph song, because that song just makes me want to puke.
because they were
Look at these photographs. I'm like,
successful was certainly plausible, as a Finnish academic study on the hatred of Nickelback found that between 2000 and 2014, the more successful Nickelback got, the worse their reviews grew, which was supported by a user on Reddit who wrote, "The only reason that so many people seem to hate Nickelback is because of how popular they are, selling over 50 million albums worldwide." It didn't help that certain media outlets literally had a policy where they weren't allowed to write positive stories about.
like, it's a really good message. It's a very good message. Like, Lou's Photograph, talking about the memories and stuff like that. But God, that song's so annoying.
Nickelback. Mike Kroger explained that he met a former journalist for Rolling Stone who had written a positive review of a Nickelback album while working for the media company, yet Rolling Stone never allowed the journalist to post it simply because it was positive.
And this journalist said, hey, I got to tell you a story. He was asked to review one of our albums, and he wrote a very, very detailed and well thought out review of the album, and it was positive. He took it to his editor, and his editor just said,
No.
I'm not going to print this, because we here at Rolling Stone are very anti-Nickelback. We do not like Nickelback. We can't write good things about Nickelback.
And if this was the narrative being held by the media, it's hardly surprising to discover that there have been countless other negative articles on the band, although to be fair, some of them have certainly been a result of Nickelback's poor decisions. For example, in 2006, the Nickelback frontman was stopped by police for speeding in his luxury Lamborghini sports car. A breath test found he had nearly twice the legal limit of alcohol in.
Didn't he write a song about this? Isn't this about one of his songs? No, we're never gonna quit. Well, nothing wrong with it. We're acting like we're animals, right? This is one of their songs. This is one of their songs. He literally is one of their songs.
In his system. Along similar lines, in an interview with Playboy, Chad Kroger bragged about once having drunk 13 Corona beers in a row, stating that he can down a Corona in 5 or 6 seconds, although while their drinking habits along with their love for car chases, explosions, and big boobs probably just made their audience love them even more, one thing that they would do in 2008 might actually qualify as the first thing done by Nickelback themselves to have a genuine impact on their reputation. In fact, this thing was so detrimental that the Finnish academic study we mentioned earlier anchored it as the main reason behind the band's
I don't like him with short hair.
and it began when they wrote a song by the name of Rockstar in 2005. 3 years after releasing the song, it was licensed to DFS Furniture for an advertisement, which was so terrible that it put a dent in the band's reputation. Nickelback's branding was, as mentioned previously, about metal, beers, and the same things Middle America likes, therefore licensing their music to a commercial that looked like this felt a little bit inauthentic. Now, we can probably all agree that it feels like a bit of a stretch to claim that Nickelback's worldwide hatred hatred came about as a result of one relatively obscure furniture advertisement. However, according to the Finnish study, the issue, Antonin writes, is about the perception of authenticity. Rock critics like to think of themselves as protectors of originality, and they perceived Nickelback to be a bunch of sellouts, true to their money rather than the art. Perhaps it was less about them being in the background of a furniture ad, and more about them selling their music to the furniture ad in the first place. People perceived them as sellouts with zero standards. In addition to this, the Finnish study made the claim that fans were unhappy with Nickelback's perceived lack of originality. When you listen to Nickelback, you think a generic rock song not pushing the envelope. Nickelback is too much of everything to be enough of something. They follow genre expectations too well, which is seen as empty imitation, but also not well enough, which is read as commercial tactics and as a lack of a stable and sincere identity. The idea that Nickelback were hated for being a generic
But they did have a identity. Everyone knew who they were. Like, everyone knew who they were, so they did have an identity. Everyone know when they have. Here's the thing: when you say Nickelback, I think everybody in the room, like when you go to a bar one time and just, well, don't, because your bar you get your butt kicked, but go go to like some of your friends and go, hey, you want to listen to Nickelback? And see what they say, and they go, name me one song. And I bet you they will name a song or two. I bet you. Every single person. Every single person. Now, you think of like other people, like you go, hey, name me a mindless self-indulgence song. No idea, but mindless self-indulgence was big in the bottoms, like big in the underground scene, huge underground scene. Name me, well, I already said that. Name me that, name me a song from someone else and start naming other groups. I guarantee you people can name a Nickelback song more than a lot of other groups that are out there. I guarantee you. Like, name me an Avril Lavigne song, like name me The Thing. And like, I know Skater Boy. He was a skater boy. She said, see you later, boy. Stuff like that. I know Avril because I liked Avril. But I think that they had enough establishment in their name to be themselves. And Photograph, as horrible as it was, it didn't sound like anything else on the radio.
generic risk-free rock band has been theorized everywhere on the internet. In a Reddit
I don't agree with that.
To discover how the band became so hated, one user wrote, "People hate Nickelback because they represent the idea that a record label can take any band, no matter how bad, and make them popular. The label can use clever PR and good advertising to make loads of money off a band that is just mediocre. People don't hate the band nearly as much as they hate the idea that the band represents," which was followed by a reply reading, "They're a mediocre band that has experienced precisely zero musical growth and exists purely as a vehicle to print money for record labels. They knew they were a mediocre band, didn't care about musical growth, signed on knowing what the plan was, and had no problem with any of it. It doesn't even..."
But why would you ever have to recognize? Okay, if I'm streaming and I'm getting a ton, let's say in the next year I get a ton of people, right? Let's say I get a ton of people in here. Let's say I get a ton of people, become partner. I'm streaming to thousands of people all the time. What are they going to be like? Oh, well, he's just a generic streamer. Well, I'm successful. I'm very successful. I'm doing something right where thousands of people want to watch me or hundreds of people want to watch me. I'm doing something successful and I'm making the money to live off of it. Why am I going to question myself in that sense? Why am I going to look at myself and go, am I really doing something that's really part of the rock? No, I'm going to think, well, I'm doing something right because people are coming out and checking me out. You know what I mean?
It even makes sense.
Nickelback is doing the right thing. They're doing the thing where everyone's listening to their music. You know what I mean?
It's not distinctive enough to be worthy of notice. It's carefully designed to be pointless and catchy. It's a product built to appeal to the lowest common denominator. It doesn't do anything wrong because it doesn't dare to take any risks. To put it simply, instead of Nickelback creating music that's risky and authentic to them, the band is perceived as having a reputation for putting out whatever music is guaranteed to appeal to the masses, yet it's hard to tell if this perception is even correct. In an interview with Face Culture, Chad Kroeger discusses how they've experimented with a bunch of different types of music.
We definitely started off as a little bit of a heavier band, but we found fans in so many different places because we just wanted to write different kinds of songs. So we'd write a song that was way over here and the fans would accept it, and then sometimes we'd write something really heavy and the fans would accept that too.
Before explaining that each band member perceives the music in their own unique way.
Everyone had their own different interpretation of it. One was political, one was religious, one was like corporate.
Which doesn't exactly sound like they were specifically trying to follow follow some kind of radio success formula. Maybe this point is just another reason the internet
Oh God.
made up to
Oh, there
justify
it is.
hating them.
Oh God,
because
there it
outside
is.
of the internet, they claim that they're hated by no one.
No!
For example, a petition requesting that Nickelback not play at halftime during an NFL game racked up over 55,000 signatures.
Shut up.
Yet after arriving
Not
in
my
the
favorite
city
song.
to play the concert, the band stated that it was nothing but love from the fans.
Playing the halftime, what was that like?
It was very controversial filled, and far less so when we actually got there. Every single human being that we came
I don't know, I like
contact
him with long
with
hair
in
better
Detroit was
still.
like, we love you. We have no idea what this is all about.
Now, there was that one time in Portugal where they walked off stage after having rocks and bottles thrown at them, yet as an overall, the band has been wise in framing the hatred as a long-term positive.
I've been really clear with my guys that all that hate has given our career legs. And that's the thing that scares me the most is if people finally stop hating us.
Damn. I love Sunny V, dude. I don't know if you guys have seen this guy. This guy is amazing.
And that's the thing that
He does some amazing stuff. Like, he really does. His videos are always so good. This one with the time Gordon Ramsay destroyed the vegan was really good. Like, I'd like to watch all these with you guys sometime. I'd like to go over like one of these videos every other night or something like that. These are really, all these are really good. He puts together a really good like documentary style, and it's pretty much every week. Pretty much every week. I'd like to pick out a few ones that I'm interested in and like go over them and hang out with them. Like the disability one is really good. The disability one's actually very good. Yeah. I mean, yeah.